Hi everyone. Today I will try to give you some information about the simple past tense. Before we start, I want to remind you that anything that happened before now happened in the past. So let's start. We use simple past tense to describe finished actions or situations that happened at a specific time in the past. For example, I finished my homework last night. In this sentence, the action, which is to finish, happened last night, so the action is finished. My parents took me to a Chinese restaurant yesterday. My dad didn't go to Italy last week. He went to Germany. In all these three sentences, the actions are not happening right now. They happened and they're finished in the past. The rule is very simple. To make simple past tense, we basically use the second form of the verb. And we make the second form of the verb in two different ways. If the verb we use is a regular verb, we add ed to the verb. Like listen becomes listened, visit becomes visited. You can see how we change it in the examples. If the verb we use is an irregular verb, we totally change the verb. For example, make becomes made, buy becomes bought. In this picture, you can see how we change irregular verbs when we use them in simple past tense. For example, drink becomes drank, swim becomes swam, write becomes wrote, drive becomes drove, think becomes thought, have becomes had, keep becomes kept. As I've said before, we use the second form of the verb to make a sentence in simple past tense. Actually, this is only true if a sentence is a positive sentence. A positive sentence is a sentence that doesn't have not in it. For example, I walked to school yesterday. Melissa and I swam in the sea 2 days ago. In these examples, the verb walked is the past form of the verb walk, and swam is the second form of the verb swim. When it comes to negative sentences and questions, we don't use the second form of the verb anymore. In negative sentences, the form we use is did not plus the verb itself. For example, Tommy didn't go to the cinema with his friends last night. When we make a negative sentence, we can't say Tommy didn't went to the cinema with his friends last night. Went is the second form, and when we use didn't in a sentence, we never use the second form of the verb anymore. They didn't study English last Monday is another example to a negative sentence in terms of structure. In questions, we use the form did plus the person and the verb itself. For example, did Jack visit his uncle last weekend? Like in negative sentences, in questions we don't use the second form of the verb anymore. That's why we can't say, did Jack visit his uncle last weekend? You can't use the second form of the verb in negative sentences and in questions. Did you call your mom is another example to a question in simple past tense. Remember that in simple past tense, the verb be changes to was or were depending on where we use it. With I, he, she, and it, we use it as was, and with we, you, and they, we use it as were. The time keys we use in simple past tense are yesterday, when, ago, and last. When we use ago, we say 5 days ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 months ago, a year ago, or 6 hours ago. And when we use last, we say last week, last year, last Sunday, last April. Thank you for listening. I hope it was helpful.